The following podcast is a mass media production.
Hi, I'm Josh Galindo.
And I'm Krystal Galindo. Welcome to the Going Galindo Rugrats and Renovations podcast.
A lifestyle podcast where we will offer our experience and expertise in building real, lasting wealth through renovating and flipping homes.
And the chaos that comes with balancing a family of 6, leaving nothing unsaid.
Follow our wild ride we call life and apply our lessons to your own journey.
Okay, good morning. Here today is me, Krystal Galindo, on Rugrats and Renovations podcast. I am solo today, but I do have a very special guest who is my neighbor and now close friend and mentor, Paula Jakubik.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really great. I'm so excited to be here on this podcast that I love so much.
I'm honored that you're here. Hey, I wanted to take a moment to tell you about Battle-Born Injury Lawyers. They handle personal injury, which covers everything from auto accidents to wrongful death. You never know when something bad will happen to you or your family. Be smart about it and make sure that you have a resource to contact right away if you should ever need it. Put Matt's number in your phone now. He will not let you down. It's 702-570-9000. Can you, I know about you, but can you just tell our guests a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you?
Yeah. So I was actually born in Pennsylvania, but I moved to Las Vegas when I was 5 years old. And I've lived here pretty much my whole life. I'm 48 now. And my parents moved here because of back in that time in the 70s, there was a really bad recession back east. And they moved here for real estate in Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I grew up with a bunch of entrepreneurial families in real estate, and went to high school here. Then I went to college at Chapman University, and then I came back to Nevada, and I was a news reporter for about, I want to say like 4 to 5 years, and then I went in-house to work in marketing and PR for a big commercial real estate company here in Nevada. And then from there, I started my own company. So I was 25 when I started mass media, and I've built that company for the last 24 years and built it up to be, a big company with 35 employees and over 10 million a year in revenue. And I have 2 beautiful children and a husband, and I live on this beautiful street with lots of neighbors and that's how I met you.
Yeah, I know. When I met you, because when we moved here, I didn't really want to move here because I was comfortable where I was at. And then when we moved here, it like kind of opened my eyes to like a different world. And when I met you, I was like, you're just so inspiring. And I just knew that you could like mentor me. Like I looked to you for guidance on a lot of things because you had your own company and then you had your family, and trying to figure out the balance of that is like near impossible. So yeah. I'm really glad I got to meet you.
Yeah. I feel like God always places me when he tells me it's time to move. It's time to move. And then I end up on a street with these amazing people. And then I feel like I was meant to be here. You know, like the people that we meet are so great. And but raising a family and having a company is really, 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 really hard. And I see you juggle it with 4 little children. I only had 2, but you have 4.
I know. That's why I'm like I'm a step back in the company because I have to focus on them, and that's why Josh runs that show mainly. But I just for the listeners, like right when I met Paula like a year ago, I was really struggling with trying to find a balance of making sure I had time for my kids and making sure I was giving enough to the company, and then making sure that the house was still good. And I was feeling very overwhelmed, and I had just met Paula, but I was like, can we please go to lunch? I need you to tell me how you did it, because you've been through this part. I don't know. I still struggle finding the balance, but can you share just a little bit of how you were able to balance the work and family?
Yeah. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes I look back on and say, I wish I would have done it different. So when I had my first child at 31 or 2, I never took a maternity leave. I just powered right through. I hired a nanny and I was right back at the office. And for about probably 15 years, I was at the office every day before 8, and I'd work until 6. And then I'd come home, relieve my nanny, and I called it the second shift. I would come home and, try to get the kids down. But I missed so much of their lives looking back that, 15 years into it, I was just like burnt and just wrung out from trying to, build a family and this company and my career. And, it got so bad that, me and my husband ended up splitting up during that time. Now we got back together, but it was too much.
Yeah.
I was working way too much. I gave way too much to my company. I gave way too much to building that company. So much of myself. So I started cracking and started seeking solace. Like I would take mindfulness classes, or I went to Miraval in Arizona, just seeking like peace and balance and just looking for help, for someone to help me find balance. And I really did find it in, going to a lot of spiritual classes, mindfulness classes, and breathing classes and yoga classes, to where I could stop being on this treadmill of, I need more, to like breathing and saying, what is my intention? And my intention, and finding that intention and asking myself what that intention is. Why am I here? And what am I going to do with the rest of my life now that I kind of have stopped and started breathing? So I really think about what I want. I just don't want to make more money and spend all this time working. To me now, working more means less time with my family and my kids. And probably about 2 to 3 years ago, I really became mindful and said, I'm going to stop working so much. I'm going to spend time with my family while they're still here, while my kids are still in the house. I want to be with them. So my kids are in high school, and I get up and I make them breakfast and I'm with them and I talk to them, and I've spent more time with them in the last couple of years than I have ever, because now I'm just so more mindful of it. So I will say that the biggest thing for me is just really first figuring out what it is that you want in building a family and a company. Because right now it might be, I need to build so that I can retire and not have to work. Because that's definitely kind of where I'm at now. Like, I've worked so hard that I can pull back,
take a step back,
and not work so much. But my intention really is to just be with them and be really like with them, like listening to them and talking to them. And I remember working so hard that I'd come home and I'd have nothing left to give, to be honest. I'd fall asleep. We would all try to go to a movie on a Friday night, and I would literally fall asleep at the movie. So being more mindful and just laying the intention that when you're at work, give your work your all. But when you're at home, try to really put down the phone and not worry about work and just be with them. But you do such a good job with that.
I try, but sometimes it's hard, because I feel like if I'm not moving or doing something, I'm like wasting my time. Like, I'm like, no, there's valuable time here that I could be doing something else. So like, I think it was just a couple days ago, I was just sitting on the couch. I'm like, okay, I really should get up and do something. But Kinsley's laying with me, and I'm like, she's not going to lay with me for much longer. Like, what am I going to get done in 15 minutes that I can't just like lay with her, be in the moment and enjoy it? So sometimes it's really hard to like enjoy it, because I just feel like I should be doing it and I want to do it, but then I feel like I should be doing something else. And it's really hard to like find that balance. But I think what really helps is, because Josh does work a lot, it's kind of roles reversed, I guess. Like, he's the one that comes home and he's fried and he falls asleep. And so for me, I feel like I need to be there for them more, so that they don't feel like an absence, Yeah, so I try my best to do that. But I remember when we went to lunch, you told me that I have been better about being like present in the moment. And like, because I can't be thinking about the next moment, because I'm not going to enjoy the moment that I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're laying on the couch and that feeling comes up, noticing it like you do, but saying, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that I sit here, because it's your romantic mind saying, oh, you need to go do something else. You need to go do something else. Like go to Target and buy groceries? Like, no, like what could be more important than laying on the couch with her.
Right.
And giving yourself the permission to do that and being calm about it and saying to yourself, no, I'm not letting that part of my brain get to me. I'm going to be here and say, there's nothing more important than being here.
No, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. I've started to think about what I want, what are the things I like to do and what are the things I don't like to do. So I don't like to spend an hour at the grocery store. So I started using Instacart because I'm like, that gets me more time with them or more time at work, or just making sure that I'm maximizing my time where it's needed and where I enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so important too. And I love that you said that, because I was really good at that over the years, saying, I'm not going to clean. I'm going to hire someone to clean. I'm not going to, get groceries or something like that. I mean, I really like to go grocery shopping now. I really do.
You do?
I love to cook and grocery shop, and I meal plan every week. Like on Sunday, I sit down and figure out what my meals are going to be for the week. I plan them all out. I write down a whole ingredients list, and then I go to the store on Sunday, and then I figure out all my meals for the week. So that's helped me a lot. But do the stuff, like you said, that you love, but the stuff that you don't, that suck your energy and that take away your happiness, punt those to somebody else.
Yeah, to someone that wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, guys, let me make sure I give myself a really quick plug here. I just want to take a moment and make sure I'm crystal clear on what Galindo Group Real Estate offers to the Las Vegas public. We have a company called Galindo Buys Houses that buys homes as is, all cash, and can close in as little as 7 days with no appraisals, no commissions, and we pay all of the fees associated with the closing. So the number we give you is the number you should walk away with from the closing table. You pick your close date, and if you need to, you can stay up to 3 weeks after closing, giving you a home and the much-needed cash to make future decisions. Galindo Buys House is a locally owned company that takes the profits generated here in town and reinvests them locally. We're not that big hedge fund that takes the profits generated here and sends them off to New York and other big cities. I employ people here locally and invest here locally. If you or anyone you know is behind on payments, repairs, or inherited a tenant disaster, don't hesitate to give me a call. We will get you an offer in 5 minutes or less and close in 7 days or less. So please take this number down. It's easy, 820-CASH. Again, it's 702-820-CASH. Talk to you soon.
Okay, so a lot of what I struggle with is working with Josh. I feel like that's it puts a strain on the marriage and then it's strain at work. And I feel like it's kind of hard to balance that. And I know recently you and Jay started doing some working together with your real estate investments and your rental properties. And how's that going? Is it going good? Or am I the only one that fights with my husband because I work with him? Or
No. I mean, I grew up, my parents worked together every day. And so I saw that, they come home and they talk about work a lot and that everything was work too, which is probably where I got my manic.
Do you think that's a good thing? Because we do that too. So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do that in front of my kids.
I mean, I think it can be good and I think it can be bad.
Okay.
As long as I think it goes back to that balance, creating the balance. And again, I think the most important thing is setting the intention for what you want. Like, I want a great marriage. I want a great family life. I want a great work life. So what does that look like in each of those spheres? And make sure that you're balancing it because it's easy to get off balance. So I remember I listened to Tony Robbins once say, it's usually that you're doing really, really good in work, then your family's suffering.
Yeah.
Or you're doing really, really good in your family or your work suffering. So I just always try to think about if I feel like my relationship with my husband is off, then what can I do to bring it more back in balance? First, noticing that I feel like that, and then being intentional about bringing it back. Do we need a trip? Do we need a dinner? Do we need to go walk the loop and just talk? And we feel the best, I think, when we're in balance. So working together, again, for 25 years, I worked at mass media and he really wasn't a part of that. So it was really great because we had these separate lives and they never really connected. But now that we are working together in some of our real estate stuff, we're just different people.
Yeah.
And I'm probably more mature now to understand that. Before, if I was much younger dealing with him, I probably would have wrung his neck because we are just different people.
But that's probably what makes it work too. You
Yeah.
know? If you guys were exactly the same, I don't know if that would, if I was the same as Josh, it would not work out.
It's
you
so
know?
true. But he some of the things that bother me about him is he just, when I need to do something or get something done, I do it or I get it done. Like it takes him like 3 to 5 days. So on the third day, I'm like, can you please do this?
Yeah.
Can you please do this? Can you please do this? I'm like, okay, so I have asked you now 17 times. I know typically it's like 18, but can you please get it done?
Just knock it down one each time.
Yeah, we have tenants without heat. Like,
Okay.
can you please help me get this done?
You should text me.
No, I know. I always text you, but that's probably an exaggeration. But
Yeah.
he reviews everything and does all the math side of it because I'm not really good at that. But when I'm waiting on him or somebody else is waiting on him, I'm dying inside.
Yes, I feel that way too. I don't like waiting on him. Like I feel like, and I'm not like a control person, but I don't want someone to feel like I'm dropping the ball. It's like, I'm just waiting on this. I can't.
Right. So again, like the thing I do there is I try to breathe and be intentional and say, he's so busy with his other work and, I'm just going to try to nudge him along as best as I can and, be appreciative of him and happy that he's helping me. And rather than being mad, I haven't really gotten mad at him, just more annoyed, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think one big lesson I had to learn working with him is that I can't take it personal. And I know that it is a different dynamic. Like we can't interact like a typical like coworkers because it is different when like we're at home too, it's different, but I can't take everything so personal. And I usually do that. So lately I've just learned to not take it personal. It's like, if I have something, I'll just stand in front of him till I get my answer and then just leave and not feel like an inconvenience,
Right.
Because I'm really helping him. So
Right. I remember, so when we met for lunch that first day and we were talking, and one of the things that bubbled up was, and I was like, you're like Mrs. Galindo.
I know you did tell me that, and it took me a second, and like I thought about that for a couple of days, but.
And I want to talk about that because I probably for the first 22 years of building my company never felt. I remember walking around the office going, man, like, I can't believe like this is my office.
Like this was your vision and you created all of it.
Right. Yeah. Like I think as women, we don't feel like we ever make it, or we don't feel like worthy, or we downplay it. Like, but I said to Krystal, you're Mrs. Galindo. Like you started this company with Josh and it's yours, and step into your power as Mrs. Galindo in that office and make it happen. Like move off. This is Mrs. Galindo and I'm here to like get this stuff done. So I think it's hard again, like as women, whether you own a law firm or you own a restaurant, like, just stepping into, I'm the owner of this. I created this. It's mine and my husband's, and owning that and feeling good about it. Yeah,
that was like a very powerful conversation for me because at that time we were transitioning some employees too, and I didn't really get along with some of them, and they made me feel like less than at my office. And I'm like, this is my company and I'm afraid of my employee. Like that should not be the case. So I remember when I talked to you about that, I was like, I'm just going to start like owning my space and, doing small things, but like handing off small jobs and seeing how it went. I'm like, oh, that went good. They wanted to do it, which they should, but like they were happy to do it for me. And so I've learned a lot from that, like owning my position, and even a lot of the stuff with Josh. I'm like, I'm not going to bother him with little decisions. Like I'll make my own decisions, and that makes me feel like that's like more powerful in my position.
Empowered.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I know I met with a friend once who, was like, oh, I have to run out and pick up my lunch every day and I have to do this. And I was like, no. Like at one point in my career, I ended up getting an assistant, and I never had one probably for the first 10 years, but it was the most amazing thing ever because every day she would have lunch for me on my desk.
Oh, that's amazing.
She knew what restaurants I liked. She knew when I was hungry. She just knew me. Like she took care of me for like 10 years where she was like, okay, Paula has this meeting and she's going to have to go here. She's going to want lunch. So that's great because like you said, the employees who really care about the organization want to take care of you because you're the creator, the owner, and you're making money for the company. So she, every day would get the lunch, deliver it. She might ask me, she would go get my Starbucks. That was her job, like to take care of me. And that's so great. So
it is great. And it feels good to know that people like want you to feel good. Like they feel good doing that for you. Like when I go in the office now, both the girls at the front are like, what can I help you with today? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a whole list. So let me just get my list done. And and they do it faster than I would ever do it.
Right. And you have to think about what you essentially bring to the company, like what your gifts are. Like for me, it's really not figuring out what the hell I want for lunch, driving to go get it, standing in line, coming back and doing that. I probably made a ton more money with her doing that because I didn't have to do all that work. I'm better used selling advertising and coming up with ideas and, not doing that kind of work. That's what the administrative side of my company was. That was what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what helped me when I was able to like delegate those things and they were wanting to do it and they helped me and they did it. So I was able to focus on the things I needed to focus on to where I'm able to go home, be present with my kids instead of when they go to bed, I'm still going to do work stuff.
Right.
So that it's made me much more grateful for them and like my position and it's just made me feel better about myself, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've trained my mind so much now that when I find myself in a menial task, doing paperwork or something, I'm like, no, this is not what I do. Forward.
I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. So
we just don't want to, like, I always think too, like, we only have so much energy in a day to give and to do stuff. Like, why would we waste it on menial tasks? We want to save it for, what our gifts are to the organization or to our family or that sort of thing. So definitely stepping into your power and just knowing that everyone's there to help.
I know. And you told me that. I was like, that's not me. I'm not like, but I think I didn't really take it the right way. It took me a couple of days. Like you're not saying like go around and push people around and like be bossy. Like you're just saying like accept yourself and your position and own it.
Yeah.
So
no, and my assistant who did all that for me, like we were so close. We loved each other, knew each other. Now she ended up having to retire because her husband had a health issue, but we cried like when she left and hugged and still are in touch to this day that like you said, it's not like you're being someone that's...
I feel like I always took it like powerful women like always kind of came off bitchy to me, but I didn't really understand it. And it totally opened my eyes to something else. I'm like, no, they're just like owning their position. Like it's total, and it makes me, I'm glad that I talked to you about it because I feel better about myself now too.
Oh, good. So did you take steps to come, like you said, you started delegating more and Yeah, and
I started like, remember that one week that you were like, you said you wanted to pick your kid up from school and go home to spend time with them. Did you do that this week? I'm like, no, I didn't. So then the next week I was like, okay, these 2 days I said I was going to go straight home with them. I did. And it made me feel good because I set these goals. I made them for myself. And then I got to do what I wanted to do with my kids. And
right.
So in the work stuff, it could wait one more week. So that was,
yes, we did talk about that.
I remember you were being my accountability coach. I'm like, can I hire you just to be my accountability coach?
Yeah.
Make sure I do everything I said I was going to.
Well, we talked about that, and it's like time blocking out your calendar. I time block out now every day from 5 to 9 a.m. because in the past, I would just wake up and roll right into work. Or I would wake up and like start working on my emails and doing this and doing with that. Now 5 to 9 is what I call prime time. So it's my time. So like no one infiltrates it. People try to put, like Brooke tried to put something on my calendar last week. I'm like, no, not till 9 o'clock, because that's my time to get up and do yoga and like breathe and meditate and be with myself and just start off slow in the morning rather than rolling right into that. So time blocking out, I'm going to leave every Tuesday and Thursday to go pick up my kids from school, and I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to come home and I'm going to be with them. So shut off your email, shut off your phone. Like, it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, it's always going to be there tomorrow. Like, does it have to be done like right now? Because again, as women, like when things pull up in my email, I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And for, again, 20 years, that email was like pushing me to do everything. Now I've gotten my power over that. And I'm like, no, I've shut off every notification on my phone, every notification on everything. And I go to my email when it's time to go to my email, and I do the things not in record speed like I used to, not as bad as Jason, but definitely I do them and you know what? Everything's okay.
Yeah.
The world's still spinning and everything's still going, but I'm not killing myself.
Hey, I want to take a minute to tell you about one of our sponsors, Nick Marietta at Southwestern Custom Construction. Nick does it all. He's got a construction company, a wholesale business, and a flipping business. He's someone you can count on, and the best part is there's really no job too big or too small for him. Nick is your guy if you need help with a full, complete flip or just a small renovation project. You can reach Nick at 480-235-8148 or find him on Facebook and or Instagram at The Real Nick Marietta.
I was going to ask you how you fit in solo time, because I literally have none unless I'm in the car driving from dropping them all off. And then from the last drop to the office, that's my solo time.
Yeah.
And I was listening to one podcast, and he said, right when you wake up, do not check your phone, because then you have to start responding. Or even if you don't respond, you're thinking about it.
Right.
And how do you get any time to do anything else if you immediately wake up and check your phone? So like I wake up like 6:15, and I just don't check my phone until I'm leaving the house in case Josh is like, I forgot this, I need this. So I check it right when I leave. So I have like 2 hours, but I think I should start waking up earlier, because that's when the kids wake up. So I don't really get alone time unless I stay up late. And lately I've just been falling asleep. I haven't been able to stay up late.
I think for you, because you have 4 little kids who you know,
they need me first thing when they wake up. Yeah.
And you're never really going to be able to escape that. My kids are teenagers now, and so it's different. But when my kids were your kids' age, I would go away for a weekend by myself. I would book a hotel in LA and I'd go there by myself. Like, you should think about that.
I've never done like anything by myself.
Right. It's like just time for it to be like, I needed to think and just be and not have anyone. I just needed time by myself. So like once a year I do it. And like sometimes I'd go to a spa or in Phoenix or Scottsdale or Tucson. They have some really great spas down there. And I would get up, I'd go have breakfast, I'd go to a spa treatment, I'd come back, I'd go to yoga, I'd read, I would just be to give myself a break. And then I was so much better when I came back, because I was like,
you were like rejuvenated.
Yeah.
How do you fight the guilt though? I always, whenever I'm like doing something, like when I visit my girlfriend that lives in Austin, when I'm there, I feel extremely guilty that I'm not at home, like taking them to school and picking them up. And I feel that I'm bad that I'm putting it on other people, and those are my duties. And I don't know how I like battle the guilt.
Yeah. I was thinking that because you were telling me that when you went away last time, you had to do shots.
Yes. Yeah. Because
that's
I'm like,
not good.
I feel so guilty. I miss them, and I feel bad that I'm not there. And like, so in order to I can't have a sober mind. I have to it has to be a little buzz so that I can kind of try to enjoy myself.
Yeah. Well, I would say a couple things to that. One is, when you said I don't want to put it on other people, like you're the grandparents of the children probably love to have that time with them. And it's good for them to be with their grandparents and really spend really good time with them. So I think that I always worried more about my kids being harmed while I was away. Not that I felt guilty that I wasn't with them, taking care of them. I know that we all have different feelings, but I was always worried that whoever was with them, they were accidentally going to be stabbed with a knife, or they were going to fall into a pool, or I really had a lot of anxiety around that. So I worked on that, where I just started praying that, God will watch over them. And I have to start believing that they're going to be okay. It's really will be hard. less odds for them to like fall on a knife in a dishwasher and die. So I started like really working on that. And then for you, if you're always worried and apprehensive about being away from them, think about like what that's doing for you with you and your husband when you're off on this trip together. Like, you know, like I would try to break it down on the feelings that you're having and why you're having them around that. And then try to like figure out what I can do to make, because if they're with someone who you don't trust, then find someone who they're with.
Yeah, I think luckily I have a really great village, and I don't ever really worried about them getting hurt. I'm more when I go on a trip, first I'm afraid I'm going to die, then what's going to happen to them, or I'm like feeling guilty that I'm just not there. So luckily I don't really worry about like their safety. I'm usually
that's good.
Yeah, that's good, which I'm lucky to have that. But I do know that if I don't, like if Josh and I are in a good place, then I'm not like the best mother. So I really try hard to focus on being a good wife and making sure me and him are good so that I can be the best for my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, again, just being intentional about, and I think it goes back to you probably don't just think that in your mind that you deserve to be away. You're like, you know, like, there's your there's your kids, and there's the entity, your family, the entity, and there's you and Josh, but there's also you with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like like you are a person and you need to be loved and nurtured. Like you need that time away. You need to be, you know, at the beach without your kids. What if your kids were there? You'd be like, this is horrible.
Oh my gosh, it'd be horrible.
Right. So just being like, I deserve this. Like I deserve to like not be apprehensive about my kids are fine. They're being watched over, like breathing into, I deserve this. And I'm going to really try to enjoy it and be joyful and happy, because that's what you're there to do, is de-stress. And we can't have you being stressed while you're on vacation.
Right. Because then it's a waste of a trip.
Yeah.
I also for a long time, the people that I surrounded myself with, I felt like, I think it's part of the reason why I would feel guilty is they're like, oh, you're just going to pawn your kids off, just pawn your kids off. And it's like, they're with their grandparents. I don't think I'm pawning them off. And
right.
So I feel like everyone's just so judgy, and I've learned to not surround myself with those kind of people anymore, or have it on social media, because I was feeling it because of them, and I don't know,
right,
that wasn't healthy for me. It was making me feel worse. So I've been a little bit better about accepting it, but I still sometimes feel guilty. But yeah,
guilty because you think they're missing you.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and they probably are, but it's probably a good thing.
I know. The worst thing I did was give Beckham a phone to use, because this last trip he called me every day, and he'd text me, "Mom, can you call me?" And I'm calling him. He's like, "When are you coming back?" I'm I shouldn't have given a 7-year-old a phone. He doesn't realize. Right. You know? But it was sweet still, you know? Yeah.
Like little things to help you guys both through that. But it's probably good that they miss you and that they have a little separation once in a while. And I mean, I've had friends where their kids call nonstop. I'm like, what is going on with, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes that can create, I'm not saying that it is, but sometimes it can create a little bit more neediness with the kids. And I always thought this too, our job as parents are to raise them to be these independent beings and not
dependable. Or I'm sorry, depending on you.
Yeah. My daughter, Ashley, is 17, and if I die tomorrow, she will be 100% okay. Do you know what I'm saying? She knows what to do. She's very independent. She knows how to put gas in her car. She knows how to make her own lunch. She knows how to do everything. She knows she got a bank account. She got a job. She will 100% be okay. She can figure things out. She can move through things on her own. And it's probably because I really wasn't there a lot. But
do you think that helped because she watched you work so much and watched you build your own business?
I think so.
That's made her more independent, seeing you be independent?
I think so, for sure. She's just very, she won't let me do anything for her. I'll be like, oh, I can do this. She's like, I don't need you to do that. Okay.
You're like, oh, that sounds like me.
Yeah. But then I come back to, that was my role, is that, you want to raise them to be independent and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah, that's another reason why I was glad that I talked to you, because I feel like it made me be a little bit more independent. I thought that was good for my kids to see, because I don't want them to see me depending on Josh all the time, or like anytime something breaks, they're like, Daddy can fix it. I'm like, I can fix it too.
Right.
So I will fix it. Like, know that I can do it too. So I think that's good for them.
Yeah, and everything that we're doing, our kids 100% are picking up
Yeah.
on 100%. So like, we want to be the very best at home, but also like, who do we want our daughters to be?
Right.
Who do we want our son to be? And we want them to be okay with you having to go away for a couple days. Like, I'm going to go away with Daddy and we're going to like have a great time together, and them seeing that and knowing that is so good, like sending them pictures of you guys hugging or,
Yeah, that is good for them. That's true.
Yeah.
And then I bring them back a gift so that they're fine. They're like, what'd you get me? I'm like, okay, well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then they get excited when you go away because you're going to bring them back a gift.
Yes, exactly.
So they're excited,
Yeah.
And just like you said, filling them up with their grandparents and fun stuff. Like watched your social media while you were out of town. They were having a blast doing all this great Christmas decorating and stuff like that. Like, they're in such good hands and so happy.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I want to talk to those of you who may not be staging your houses that are up for sale. Maybe you've thought about it. Maybe you've tried it once. I'm telling you that you should definitely reconsider. Staging your listing builds an emotional connection for the buyer, allowing them to picture their life there. You can also spend fewer days on market. I recommend working with the House of Vegas to stage your next property. Give it a try and see if you get a better result. Call Thomas at 310-503-3611. Okay, so Paula, I know you said that you've taken more time away from mass media so that you could be home, and you're kind of more towards the retiring side, and then you took on a podcast. So I don't know how you find time for that, but how do you find time for Scrappy?
Yeah, so after so many years at mass media, I ended up selling part of the company. I'm still a shareholder, but I took a much lesser role in the company. I don't run the company anymore. I have no day-to-day dealings with the inner workings of the operations or the financials. It was like, when that happened, I just felt such a relief.
Was that a hard decision to make?
It took a spiritual counselor to help me get there. It took me a couple years.
It was like your baby.
Yeah, but I had to know that, be really intentional about what I wanted for my life for the next 5 to 10, 20 years. And it wasn't running all of that, because it's so much work, from the financials to the, doing reviews on employees, to figuring out where we're going to go next, to selling, to processes and procedures, and running the office, and where are we going to rent office space and the furniture. I mean, I did everything for so long. So I just decided that I only wanted to focus on getting new business for mass media. Everything else I wanted off my plate. So it got, like I said, it took me a couple of years to get there, but I got there. And then, so I moved to a part-time, only new business position with mass media. But then I was home and I was like,
Yeah, because you're not the type that can just sit at home.
Yeah. So I was sitting at home, I was like, So what do I do now? And I started getting apprehensive, like you were saying when you're on the couch with Kinsley, where I would have to tell myself, it's okay to sit here and do nothing. It's okay to just take a breath. But then I started thinking, okay, what's next? What am I going to fill up my time with? And I really wanted to help entrepreneurs grow their companies, because I really felt like over those 20 years, I hit and dealt with so much that I wanted to give back to help entrepreneurs when they hit these barriers, from financial to marketing to operations to all of the things that come up when we're building our companies. So I said, I really want to start a podcast. I love podcasts. I listen to a ton of podcasts all day long, in the shower, driving, all over the place. I'm like, I want to start a podcast to help entrepreneurs. So I just did it. I launched a podcast, and now it's called the Scrappy Entrepreneur, and I get to interview entrepreneurs about building companies and what things work, and barriers and failure, and just meeting these entrepreneurs and learning about how they overcome failure and things that they do is so inspirational to me. I really, really, really love it. So it's just so great.
That's good.
Love it.
That's good. Because I feel like that fulfills you too. It makes you gives your purpose, another purpose for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never listened to a podcast before I listened to yours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I did.
Yeah.
It's good. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, I like it. And then in about another, I think like 7 or 8 months, I'll 100% be out of mass media altogether.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then I'm going to just work on the podcast and maybe launch some other podcasts. And I love podcasting.
Yeah. Good. Well, you're good at it. So.
Oh, thanks. I think it's like finding, again, that next step, always growing, always evolving, knowing that you don't have to stay in that space forever. I felt like with mass media, I gave it my all for so long and I built it. And now it's time for other people to take it and grow it to the next level, and knowing that that's okay.
Yeah. And
So.
then moving on to your next endeavor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing so much. I'm really happy I got to sit and talk with you, because each time I always learn. But that's probably going to wrap it up for us. And
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you were here.
Yeah.
You guys, thanks for listening. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and give us 5 stars, and listen to Scrappy Entrepreneur after this.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed the show, please rate, subscribe, and share our podcast. You can also connect with us on social media or at galindogrouprealestate.com.
Until next time, thanks again for listening.